Hello and welcome back to Mental Music. I, of course, am Max Thomas, and today I'm joined by Leila Hooton. Leila, thank you for joining me today.
Hello, and you're very welcome. Thank you for having me, Max.
You are most welcome. I was pleasantly surprised when you kind of really reached out, and so I've been looking forward to this quite a while. There's been a bit of a gap in between my recordings that I have been doing, but it's great to get back on track. But I feel like I'll start off in a similar way. I'm very interested in how people who come to study music come from all sorts of different starts and beginnings, and I wanted to ask you a similar thing of how did this whole journey for you of wanting to be a musician start with being at school, etc.
Okay, so my mum is a peripatetic clarinet teacher, and she kind of decided for me at a young age that I was going to learn an instrument, because it's a big part of our family, and she tried to teach me piano as a kid, but I think I was a bit too young and a bit stubborn, didn't quite work out. So we left that for a few years, came back to it, and then it's started to go better because I guess I actually wanted to start learning music then. And I also started learning flute in year 4, so age 8 at school, and just carried that on. My mum, well, I wouldn't say encouraged me to do youth orchestras and school orchestras, for which I'm now very grateful because I had a great time doing them. And along the way I started playing violin, I think when I was 9 or 10 as well, and started having singing lessons when I was at high school, I think just after high school or maybe just before high school. So basically I was just doing music a lot of the time throughout my childhood. And then when I got to sixth form, I got a new flute teacher, Anna Noakes. Shout out to Anna for being a amazing teacher. And she sort of introduced me to the world of, conservatoire and serious performance. And with her help, I decided to apply for conservatoire and got into the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire, and the rest is history.
Excellent. And I know I've spoken on this before, but was that particularly a big decision you had to make? Because a impression I always get of you is that, as you kind of described with how you first were brought into music, is you're doing a lot of different things at once and very broad brush in your skills. Was that particular? Was it very sure decision that you made of okay, let's just do that? Or were there other things that kind of also shone at you as being a possibility?
Yeah, so I guess I became sort of really serious about a performance career when I was in sixth form, when I started having lessons with Anna Noakes, because I guess beforehand music had just been a hobby, and I wasn't actually really fully aware of what conservatoire was, and Anna was the person who showed me and encouraged me to really sort of do as much music as possible. So something I didn't mention earlier is I did Old Young Musicians when I was younger, and Britain Symphonia, and my weekends were sort of filled with music, but it was great, and I'm so grateful for having those experiences because it really definitely helped me get into conservatoire. But I was also quite set on drama and really loved drama, and I was doing music and A-level drama, and I was really torn between doing music and doing drama, and I thought I'd audition for both to drama school and music college, but when the time came to it, music auditions were the most stressful things ever alongside A-levels, so I was like, oh god, nah. I kind of dropped out of the drama auditions. But yeah, I mean, for me, I guess it was a case of these are my hobbies, and I know I can go into them, and there wasn't really anything else I would have gone into. Maybe psychology, but it just seems stupid because I was doing so much music and performing and everything. So that's kind of the route I went down and I got into music.
No, absolutely. And that's really interesting. And it's something I hadn't thought about before because, well, just in relation to what I know as a kind of process, because for anyone who knows me, after school, I took a year out and then did my auditions for conservatoire and things. So I have a bit of a different experience in terms of how the audition process went because it was very isolated and I was purely focused on that. But you talked about kind of the stress of those auditions. How was that process for you? Because maybe there are some people listening to this who are looking into wanting to audition to conservatoires and want to know what that process is like. So what was that like going to places like Birmingham and London conservatoires auditioning whilst also having to do studies for A levels and doing it, I presume, alongside other people who were looking to audition?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, one thing that came to my mind when you were asking me those questions, like a solid answer, is that the experience of preparing and auditioning for music college was a huge learning curve for me. At the time, I didn't realize it, but now I look back and I see that it was, because I was also very committed to my A levels and like trying to do as best as I can in those. And at the time, I honestly don't think I was probably doing as much practice as I should have done. So because I was trying to balance it between my schoolwork as well, and it was very stressful. I didn't really, I was a bit unsure, I guess, of like what I was supposed to be doing, and yeah, it was stressful, but you know, we got through it. And now looking back, I'm grateful that I've went through that uncertainty, because I now feel like, oh yes, I know that music is what I want to do, and I know that I'm certain on it, and I know that, you know, you have to really work so hard and practice loads and prepare. And so yeah, I think in hindsight it was a really good learning curve for me, even if at the time it was stressful.
Well, hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it, Leila?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So we get to you getting accepted into Birmingham, and you getting that offer through. Coming into your first year, what was that kind of change like? Because I imagine it's learning curve after learning curve after learning curve. Certainly was for me. What was that kind of first year experience like for you?
No, I completely agree, and I think it's quite similar for every student who's moving out of home for the first time and getting used to this new lifestyle by themselves. You've obviously got all the sort of the practical learning curves to overcome, like, you know, just how to function as an adult without your parents around and stuff. Yeah, so alongside that, I also, I guess, I didn't really know what to. Honestly had no idea what to expect when I went to conservatoire, and I was pleasantly surprised in that, you know, everyone was so nice and friendly. And one thing that I really, really liked about conservatoire is the amount of help and like contact time you get,
Yes.
as opposed to universities. So I think it really helped me, the fact that, you know, we were being guided a lot by teachers, being like, you've got to go to this class, you've got to go to this class, you've got to do this. And yeah, I mean, first year was a blast. It helped me to settle in really nicely. And again, I think I've just I learned, this is going to get so cheesily deep, but you know, first year I really learned a lot about myself as a person, and I matured a lot, and I learned more about the music industry and conservatoire and just how it works and what you need to do to make it as a musician, really. And I mean, that's probably the same for everyone. Everyone like goes through that maturity stage, but I think that was a big thing for me in first year, and then realizing that actually, wait, I have to, yeah, I don't know, you just have to mature a lot, I guess.
Yeah, well, it's
That's not a very good answer.
no. I disagree. I think there's definitely stepping stones you need to take, and not that you can be prepared or not prepared for that, but it's whether you can almost accept that and then take that on within yourself.
Yeah, I think probably to sum it up, well, actually, you summed it up really well. I had no idea what to expect. I knew they were going to be stepping stones, and I did overcome them, and it all pleasantly surprised me, I suppose. Because I was quite nervous. I was nervous about moving out of home. But
Essentially, would
pleasantly
be.
surprised.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I know you say that a lot of it pleasantly surprised you, but one of the things that we did touch on before is where I'd love to start with some of the mental health talk is about self-doubt, really, and kind of a great kind of lens to almost see it through is competition almost. Certainly how I experienced it a bit, but around that kind of those early years, what kind of started to change for you? Because I know that you have mentioned before about how being alongside other people, like chapter after chapter of people, and then it being almost inevitability to
Compare yourself to
yeah
others.
compare
Yeah.
yourself to others. You can talk me through that kind of.
Yeah, sure. So, as I mentioned before, I wasn't really sure what to expect when I started. Um, and obviously, you are greeted with other musicians similar age to you, fantastic musicians. And I think this is a part of conservatoire life that's not talked about openly with students. You know, you you're not in competition with these students, but you're put with them, and quite a lot of the time it really does feel like you are in competition with your friends and your peers, which can be really, really stressful. And yeah, I think there is a lot at conservatoire between students. I think there can be a lot of underlying competition, not necessarily in like a malicious, horrible way, but you know, it's always there. The whole audition process for conservatoire and for jobs, it is, you know, a fight till the end. You know, who's gonna be best, I suppose. I mean, I know obviously there's a lot more to it than that, and you know, different employees look for different things in players. But at the end of the day, it's really hard to just go on playing and get marked and graded, not compare yourself with your peers. And that was something that, not in first year, but you know, we, as we said before, going into second year, that really started to get to me, because you know, second year things are getting more serious. And yeah, it was really hard not to compare myself to other people, which then led to a lot of self-doubt about my playing.
Yeah. Well, where do you think those kind of self-doubt started within your playing?
um it's just, you know, when you've all got exams, like technical exams, so scales exams and exit exams coming up, and you you hear other people practicing for them, or you get together and you do group classes on scales, and you hear other people and you just think, oh damn, they're so much better than I am. And it just sort of like, it starts to manifest in yourself, and grows all these crazy thoughts. Because obviously, you know, when you're practicing, you are just deciding what you've kind of done wrong, or what's not good enough about your playing, and how you can get it. So it's a very, if you're not careful, it can be so easy to fall into a cycle of negative thoughts about your playing, um, which can then lead to yourself, because you know, conservatoire is such an intense place. You're doing one thing for so long, like you really want to be good at it, and if you feel like you're not, you feel like you're failing, and that's really hard to deal with. Especially when I think this whole podcast you're doing is great, because it's opening up the discussion about mental health, and again, I think that's something that could be a lot more talked about openly in conservatoires. And so when maybe it's not there, that's when it gets really hard to fight the self-doubt sometimes.
Absolutely. And you chimed on in something that I was thinking about perfectly. This idea of this apparent theme of people getting into quite a cyclical way of thinking, and it's being okay. I need to work on this, so that, but this is not being worked on, and oh no, tone no vibrato, no dynamics, oh no, constant. And it's draining and it can be grueling it can really come down to, I certainly think, specific teachers maybe that you can have, how that kind of manifests, because otherwise then, certainly how I experience it a bit, it almost feels catch up. Like,
I thought you said ketchup and I got really confused. Sorry, catch up. Yep. Back on track.
like catch up all the time, where it's not quite enough. And
Yes, in terms of catch up, like how I would relate to it is I always need to feel like I need to catch up with my peers because they're doing better than me, you know, which can be a good thing. It motivates me and I'm like, I need to be as good as them. But sometimes, you know, goes back to those thoughts and it's unhealthy and it can lead to self-doubt. But yeah, you mentioned also something about pressure. And I think there's this huge pressure that, you know, oh, my finger technique has to be perfect. My breathing and support has to be perfect. My tone, my sound has to be perfect. And then on top of that, I have to be like musical and show all my interpretations. And it's like you're always fighting for these to be perfect.
and then you get in a performance class and they say, oh no, you have to perform all of.
Yeah, so that's another added like dynamic to the situation. And I think this is maybe skipping ahead a bit. Now when I look back on things, I think, you know what, like I'm 21. I have like 3/4 of my life left to get all those things perfect and do whatever the hell I want. Whereas like when I was in first year and second year, I think I was definitely less mature and I was like, I have to do this now. I have to be the best now. And if I'm not, why am I here? And it's so hard. Again, this is something that needs to be constantly reminded, I think. Well, students need to be constantly reminded of. You're here to learn. You're not here to be perfect. Like, you are here to learn. You've got time to learn.
Absolutely.
It's fine. Don't stress, you know?
It's you're quite right. It's about learning and being taught and kind of absorbing as much as you can. And it's something I'm really adamant about, which is that I feel that these days higher education is rushed way too much, and that peels over into university study. You come from 7 years of like working towards these exams and then to these exams, and then people still hold on to that post that, then going into university. It's like, no, you have 4 years to develop being a good learner, not being a all-round perfect person, but it's not explicitly said.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there's a huge pressure nowadays because obviously with social media spreading news and the rate at which technology is progressing, I think there's this huge pressure to just, you know, always be doing your best, always finding new things, being inventive and stuff. And actually, like you said, sometimes universities, I don't know, work, schools, places just need to ease off that pressure and be like, you're here to learn. That is a completely natural, normal part of life. Like, just don't feel the pressure. And I guess, yeah, you have certain teachers who are great for helping you with that and others that aren't. And I guess anyone who's listening to this and maybe isn't a musician, like some teachers can be really mean about it, you know. I've had lessons where I've been completely ripped into because, you know, maybe I didn't memorize this piece of music and I'm like, well, I've got time to memorize it. I haven't graduated yet. I'm not going to auditions yet. Like, why are you ripping into me? I'm here to learn. I'm trying my best. Like, whereas at the time I took it as a huge like, oh my gosh, that was horrible. I'm really upset. But now I look back and I'm like, no, it's fine. And then I've had other teachers who I break down crying in my lessons and they give me a hug and it's like,
It's a world of difference.
they can really, really affect your time at music college and your development as a musician and a person.
Absolutely.
Yeah, another shout out to my other teachers, Judith Hall and Marie Pancake, who have been there for me. So yeah, big love to them.
Amazing. So we started off talking a lot about self-doubt and nerves. in kind of apprehension to those learnings. When did that kind of develop further for you into, I would denote it as much more serious health concerns for you? Because we've, as I said, we've previously discussed this kind of thing. But how did the I can't ask sometimes what was the exact triggering point, because not everybody has that, or maybe you do. But where in terms of time would you say was kind of a, not tipping point, but kind of downgrade towards things getting much more serious for you?
Yeah, so I know what you mean. Sorry, I feel like I just
It's all right.
cut you off when you're going to say something else then. um, but I know exactly what you mean, and I think, as I said earlier, first year was great. Settling in, second year, things get more serious, and for me, the pressure really, really piled on. I wouldn't say people were putting it on me. It was like my own self, and feeling the need to just be better. And it was definitely second year. So as second year progressed, and I just felt more and more self-doubt about myself. And we also had I think I've asked you if you remember this, but we had the longest second semester ever, from like January, and it felt like it went on till like December or something.
I remember it very well.
Yeah. But I was getting tired, and I was getting stressed, and I was getting so upset about my playing, that I just really, really started to struggle in second year. I remember, crying lots, calling my mum, not wanting to practice, like really, really struggling. And alongside this, I know this is again another thing that a lot of people feel, but there's a lot of pressure on maybe teenage girls to, yeah, be fit and healthy and have abs. And I was going to the gym and trying to do that alongside my flute practice. And let's face it, I'm not made to be an athlete, which again now I've accepted, but at the time, like everything, I just felt so much pressure, and I felt like I was going to explode. um and I just want to point out, I'm not saying any of this to try and get people's pity or make people feel sorry for me. I'm saying this, and this is why I contacted you, because I feel like a lot of people go through this at music college, and there's not enough music specific help and support available, in the industry, in conservatoires at the moment. And I feel like it's really important that we speak out, and we try and do something to get the support in.
Absolutely, and I don't think you speaking out about that is kind of pity baiting at all. Like, it's an important thing to you to like speak about it, and yeah, I don't think that's selfish at all. And
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously, I'm now in fourth year, and this was back in second year, and I feel like it's taken me 2 years to be like, okay, no, it's okay, actually, like I can speak about it now. And I think that's probably another maturity thing. But I feel like maybe I should also just say, I just remember I talked about phoning my parents, and I just remember feeling so stressed and low and confused one day, that I rang my parents up, and they were like, right, well, go to the doctors. You've got to go to the doctors. And for some reason, I was really reluctant to go to the doctors. I probably didn't want to admit that, I needed to. But I did, and that's how I got my help. I went to the doctors, and they were great. But, there wasn't a certain counsellor or person at conservatoire that I would feel comfortable going to talk about that. And again, I feel like this is why,
yeah, there's not any particularly easy pathway to take with that.
yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I agree absolutely, and I know certainly there are more paths than are automatically visible, but it's again, it's what you were saying. There's nothing particularly specific for us, and that then shows even when talking to GPs, even though they can be incredibly useful. It's like, well, I don't know how to relate my life as a musician or as a trainee musician to you to for you to understand how much time I need to put to that.
Oh, 100%.
And those goes towards counsellors as well, right?
Yeah, that's another big issue. All sort of arts, performance style careers, you know, there's so much pressure because you, like I said, you have to be the best, you're in the spotlight. And I think it can be really hard for somebody who is not a musician or an artist, a performer, a sports player, um, to really understand that, because this is something that we have committed our time to since we were children, and it's a lifestyle. It's not a career, it's a lifestyle, and I think it's really hard for a lot of people out there to understand and provide the right kind of help, because
Yeah,
they can't relate.
which
And
is
that's why I'm like, we need to do something about this.
really which is an interesting one because we've also talked about it as well. But it's interesting when you kind of compare that to how people in major sports are treated, and how you see how much salaries and how much funding is put towards physiotherapists and like counseling coaches for those people, and it almost seems like that's there because it's so easy to see like that effect that it can have on people.
Oh yeah, this is a whole nother thing alongside like the mental feelings of self-doubt. You've also got the physical problems of being a musician, you know, like the things that go wrong with your posture because you've been playing badly for ages. And I feel like in sport, because you can generally see a lot of injuries, or feel them if you know what you're looking for,
Yeah,
a lot easier to treat. And I don't think this is just music specific. I think this goes to mental health everywhere. um but because it's easier to see those things, it's easier to treat, and then there is that support there for them. But this is something that really needs to be provided for musicians. But again, another thing I had to say was, you know like you said, they sports people have teams of physiotherapists and whatnot. I've had to book my own osteopath appointment tomorrow because my body is aching right now so much just from practice. And yeah, I know I'm probably doing something wrong with my posture, but that's not going to get fixed after one lesson. And it's like, we have to go out and find our own resources a lot of the time.
yeah.
Not all the time. Sometimes, like, Conceptual's been great at pointing us in the right direction and things. But
Sometimes it's nice to have it a bit more specific.
yeah, there's still a way to go.
Absolutely. So we touched on it just then a bit, but so your process was that when things got pretty bad, you went to your GP to talk about things, and what was kind of the outcome from that, and what steps did you then take from there?
So obviously they assessed me, they gave me treatment, and like sent me to people to talk to. um and yeah, that was great. I also contacted BAPAM, who gave me some funding, so shout out to BAPAM.
And just for clarification, who are BAPAM?
British Association of Performing Artists Medicines. I feel like I should look this up before you put it in your
That's all right.
uh let me just look it up. This might be quite funny to put in your podcast because I'm getting it wrong, but British Association for Performing Arts Medicine. So, okay, I was basically there. Um,
Pretty close.
yeah, and I'm really grateful for all of that help, and I'm so grateful for my doctors because they were so nice and friendly and reassuring, and I felt like they really did care. Even if they didn't quite get it, they really did care, which helped. Um, so I went from there, but to be honest, it's just been, I think, a lot of I don't want to say getting better, getting through it is, coping with it is just life experience and maturity. And this is something that I want to say what the point. I'm stumbling now.
Let's take your time. It's okay.
Find the words. Something I wanted to say was, I guess, what was really important to me was maybe admitting to myself, you want this, you don't want to feel like this anymore. You know, you've got so much ahead of you,
Yeah.
and you don't have to feel like this. Like, I think realizing it was going to take time to feel better, but that I could do it was huge. And you know, just perseverance and determination, and being like, you know what, I don't want to feel like this anymore. I don't have to. I can change. You've just got to, you really got to want to help yourself and be motivated and get up and get through your days even if you don't want to. um and now, like 2 years on, again, I've said this before, but I feel so much more mature. I feel like a really different person. I have a different understanding of life. I've realized I don't need to feel like this. I don't need to be the best straight away. Like, I've got all this time to just be happy and take everything at my own pace.
Yeah, but absolutely take things at your own pace
Yeah.
because no, I agree with all of that wholeheartedly. I think the key thing that, in addition to that, I've certainly kind of held on to for the last couple of years is definitely focus on getting that bit better. If things like take a take a dip for a while, that's okay because you can come back from that. Like
Yeah.
it's almost evidence shows that you're taking this long and then you take a dip. Well, your previous history shows that you can come back from that.
Yeah.
And
And so yeah, so for me it was, you know, realizing that you can get through it, you know, even if it's not always pleasant. But you know what is, life isn't always pleasant, you know. So you just you just got to get through it. Like, don't stop sitting around feeling sorry for yourself, woman. Like, you've got these opportunities and chances in front of you, so go and get them and make the most of it, you know.
yeah, and take the help where you can because that's all
Yeah,
get it. Whether
exactly.
in whether that's in form of counselling or therapy or
Yeah,
medication, whatever works for you. Uh,
exactly.
I've had all of those at different points, multitudes, and then on their own. So it's what works for you best at the time.
Yeah, me. And also, I think something else that really helped me was just me time, you know, setting aside time for yourself, however often you need it, you know, and not even feeling guilty. And big
Absolutely.
shout out to Imogen Baker and Jacob Perkins, who were there to just have nice me time, friendly date nights, you know. That was really important.
That always is. Always is. It's often something I've found myself telling other people a lot of late is stop thinking of selfish as a bad word. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like it can often be because of the kind of line of not I don't want to say line of work, the kind of trajectory that we put ourselves into as musicians. It can often feel like a bit of a egocentric sport almost, taking a spotlight with it, and then taking even more time to work on yourself feels like that's almost a bit too much. It's like, oh no, I shouldn't. So I'll just carry on with what I was doing. But to be selfish in a way to take care of yourself is an important thing. And I couldn't agree more with you when you say if you need the me time, just take it. Um, because
Yeah, and
very little
yeah.
people can be is understanding.
Actually, that's made me think of something else that I think is quite related. By the way, I think there's a plane flying overhead, so sorry if you can hear some funky background noise right now.
That's
Um,
music, but yeah,
the other funky background music is my housemate practicing below. Um,
a reality of
yeah,
lock.
the reality of lockdown and being a music student. Yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, the other thing that I think is quite related is you saying selfishness, like, don't think of it as a bad thing. I also don't think of, you know, believing in yourself and being confident as a bad thing, you know. I think as a musician, so easy to just, oh, you know, I'm rubbish. Actually, you know, you're not rubbish. If you're at conservatoire, you are good. You know, you got in for a reason, and you can believe in yourself. It's okay to say that you are good at what you do, you know. I mean, you get scientists that they probably don't think, oh, I'm nearly swore, I'm awful at my job, or doctors, I'm awful at this, I can't perform this surgery because it's going to go wrong, you know. Like, they've studied, they've put in the work, they know they've got the knowledge and the skills, they can do it. It's the same for us, you know. You
Absolutely.
are allowed to be good and, you know, happy with your playing. I
Yes,
think that's a really important thing as well.
absolutely is. Amen to that.
Immense stuff.
Yes.
Don't know where that came from.
Oh, roll, it's fine. Oh, no, I genuinely am loving talking to you about this, because one of the
Oh,
things that I want to really highlight with this project is it's not all doom and gloom with it. And
oh yeah, 100%.
there is a lighter side to it. Plus, my personal opinion that the best humor comes from like some of the darkest jokes. And I mean, I've ended up making terrible jokes about this, but it's hilarious.
Maybe not all the time,
No,
but
no,
in hindsight, as you said, hindsight is a wonderful thing.
yeah, with hindsight and professionalism, not too much.
Exactly.
But that I suppose it's an inevitability to kind of talk about it. But obviously, uh, we had the massive lockdown that started in March, and now we're into November now with this second lockdown. But it doesn't really feel like much for us as music students, just with the way that our academic year has kind of been structured now since September. How was that kind of lockdown change for you?
I like everybody else, I was really sad that, you know, we couldn't continue our term in person. Um, but I went back to my family home for lockdown, and I'm really lucky in that I get on with my family very well, and that, you know, I love them to bits, and it was very nice to actually go and see them for such a long time, and they've always been great. So I'm very grateful for that. And I think because of that, I didn't find lockdown a negative experience, really. My parents have always been supportive and let me practice and work whenever I needed to.
Mm.
Um, and I actually found lockdown very refreshing. And, you know, for the first time in my life, I had all this time to catch up on missed sleep, um, and relax. And I think I treated lockdown as a bit of a holiday me time, you know, what we were talking about earlier. I felt like I could have me time without feeling overly guilty. So, yes, I probably didn't practice my flute as much as I should have done. But you know what? We were going through a global pandemic, and it's the first time in many people's lives where you've had this much free time to yourself. And I was like, I'm going to use it and abuse it, you know? Um,
Actual just uh, actual quality time with parents as an adult.
exactly. And my friends from home who came back as well, who I love very much.
Yeah.
Hannah, Emma, Cara, Lucy, Beth, Anna, Chanel, Sarah's, both the Sarahs.
Really,
Yeah, all of those guys.
that's today, Leila. Jeez.
It's only them, don't worry. Yeah, it was so lovely to just see them again. And obviously, you know, there were days where I wasn't feeling great. You know, you wanted to get out and do stuff. But I actually think lockdown was a really good time to just relax and accept that you can have that me time. I could have used the time completely differently, but you know, at the end of the day, I didn't, and I feel okay with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the kind of answer you were looking for.
No, that's perfectly right. I'm genuinely curious about how it affected all sorts people in all sorts of different ways. Because as with how we start our journeys with music, I feel also with every hump in the road that's shared, that all experiences comes different, and that just is another shade and aspect to just how individual we are as artists,
Yeah.
and musicians and creators as such. So no, that's by no means a bad answer. I don't think there could be a bad answer as to all of this.
Yeah, I guess that's true, Max.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't thought that. You know, I was completely freaking out that I'd come on here and talk rubbish and not make any sense and not be interesting. But you know, you've just reassured me with that comment. So thank you. You
No,
learn something every day.
I'm genuinely glad, and I'm genuinely glad that you have been able to come on and talk about this stuff, because I know that, particularly in terms of talking about depression and kind of the low mood stuff that you've been through, you've really only talked to a couple of people in private about this. So I generally thank you so much for having that kind of.
I mean, you're very welcome. And like I keep saying, I'm doing it because I want to help other people and I want to raise more awareness, which is why I'm so glad that you also feel like you can do these podcasts with musicians, and I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we'll end it there. And again, I'll say thank you again to you, Leila, for being my second guest on Mental Music. And I'll put a couple of links in descriptions to BAPAM and some of the things that we mentioned. And yeah, until next time.
Yeah, sure. And thank you so much for having me. It's been great, Max. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Until next time.